Yo, what is up? So in this tutorial, we're going to be modeling another longsword. So if you watched the first video where we modeled a longsword, the second half of the video, my audio cut out. And luckily in this part, we're going to basically be doing everything we did in the second part over again, but we're going to be doing it in a different style. So the first sword we did was this guy. And in this video, we're going to be doing this guy. We'll also do the texture and just kind of go over some different things with the texture with using alphas and such. But the same general concept, we're just going to be doing a little bit of a different style, just to kind of, for those of you that are following the inventory series, we're going to be using, I wanted to have two different swords so that when we get to swapping, we can easily, you know, test swapping. So that's why we're doing two different swords rather than just one. So, yeah. Let's just hop into it. Alright, so we're going to pick up with where we left off in the last one. So, mostly all you're really going to need in this part is the blade. We're going to reuse our blade. And we're going to replace our reference image. So if you want the same reference image that I'll be using, which will be this guy right here, I'll drop a link in the description where you can grab the reference along with the alphas that I'll be using for this tutorial. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna delete all of these pieces because we're gonna do all of these from scratch. And then we're just gonna move this old reference out of the way because we no longer need it. If it'll let me do it without scaling it. I don't know why it wants to scale. There we go. We'll just move that guy out of the way. And then we're going to move our new reference into place and try to get it to about the same scale that we had before. So I've already kind of scaled it into place. And something you can do just to make sure it's centered, you can right click on this guy and snap selection to cursor. It'll move it up, but you can just pull this guy down into place to about right there. A little higher. And yeah, so that's pretty good. So now we don't need to redo our blade because we already have it from the last sword we made. And if you didn't watch the last part, I'll also link that in the description, so you can go watch that part and you can do the blade and such. But for us, we're just going to be doing all of this top section again. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to add. We're going to add a cube. I'm going to scale this guy down, way down. I'm just going to kind of pull it into place to about right here. And remember before we said we need to apply transforms when we scale like that. So we're going to press Control A and click all transforms right there. And now we're just going to go into edit mode. And we're just going to kind of shape this stuff into place. So I'm going to X-ray mode, just kind of pull this guy down to here. Grab this bottom piece. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy up. But if you notice in the reference, this part kind of comes down. We'll add that here in a little bit. But for basically the way you want to think about like modeling and stuff is to get kind of a general block out is kind of how I do it. You get kind of like the general shape down, and then you add cuts and such where you need to kind of shape things out to be more of what you're looking for. So we're just kind of like doing a general block out to start this out. So we're going to extrude from here. Go into X-ray mode. I'm just going to kind of pull this guy into place right about there. I'm going to go into edge mode up here. Choose this top part. And just kind of pull it down. Same with the bottom piece. Pull this guy kind of up. And now we'll go into face mode. Select this end face. And I'll extrude this guy out all the way to the end. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to our modifiers. And we're going to add we're going to go to generate. We're going to add a mirror modifier. And I'm just going to grab this end face down here and pull this guy back. Then I'm going to set the mirror modifier to be clipping so that when we pull it in the middle, they'll intersect. But while we have this middle face selected, I'm going to go ahead and delete it because we don't really want a middle face in there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another modifier, and we're going to add a subdivision surface. And I'm going to bump this guy up to 2 for now, and I'm going to go in object mode and set shade smooth. And that gets us the general basic shape of what we're looking for at the moment. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into... I'm actually going to select the blade, and you can see it's not quite connecting here, so I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to go into x-ray mode so we can select everything on both sides. And I'm going to go into edge mode, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm just going to kind of pull the blade up just a little bit. We actually do kind of want it to go into this a little bit because we're going to shape out this middle part to kind of shape around our blade here. So now we're going to go back to this guy right here, and I'm just going to select this middle piece right here and just kind of pull it down into place about right in here. We'll tweak a lot of this, but for now that should be fine. Then down here on the end, I'm going to add a loop cut with Control R, and I'm going to pull this top guy up until we get kind of close to the shape we're looking for. I'm going to pull this guy down right about there. Now we'll add, so actually this guy right here can come, this guy can come up a bit to about right there. And this guy right here can come down a little bit. We're going to add some loops through here just to kind of get this curve that's in this part. So I'm going to Control R. I'm just going to pull this guy up this way a little bit. And just kind of pull this guy down till it seems like it's shaping out to be the shape we need. And pull this guy up a little bit. We'll add another cut. Pull this guy in a little bit. And pull this guy down. Pull this guy up to about right there. And we'll add one more cut right in here. And we'll pull it down a bit. Pull this bottom piece up a little bit. And we could probably do one more right in here. Let's get a little closer to what we're looking for. Pull this guy up a little bit. And this top one, pull it down just a hair right there. So now that's pretty close to what we need. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a loop directly down the middle. So let me just hide this so you can see. So we're going to add a loop directly down the middle right here, like that. And I'm just going to kind of slowly pull some of this stuff in. So like we did in the last part, we're going to set this to symmetrize on the y-axis. And I'm just going to pull this stuff in a little bit. That way it's not all just like a big rectangular. We'll kind of have some depth to it. Just kind of pull some of this stuff in. And we could probably pull this middle piece in a little bit more. Get a little bit more depth going. Yeah, that's probably good for now. So now it's not all just one shape, you know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unhide that guy. And we're going to look at what we need. So, looks like some of this up here probably needs to come down a bit. So we'll select both of those. Pull this guy down a little bit. Same right here on these two. Can probably come down a little bit. Cool. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another loop right in here, and I'm just going to kind of pull it over a little bit to sharpen this edge a little bit. And now we're going to select everything, edit mode, select everything. We're going to symmetrize. Go to mesh, symmetrize. We're going to symmetrize negative y to y. So that way both of these sides are the same. We don't have to redo that cut over there. It'll just be the same as over here. Cool. So now we're going to take a peek at what's going on down here. We may need to add some more loops right in here. So we'll add a loop right here. I'm going to select all these top edges and just pull this guy into place. We'll add another loop at the end here. And I'm going to select all these edges. Just kind of pull that into place. And we need to move this top one down as well. So just pull this guy down. And we'll grab these end pieces here. We'll pull these way down, maybe over a little bit. We'll grab these end pieces. Pull this guy. We'll pull this guy in. We'll grab these bottom pieces right here. Pull these guys in. And we'll grab this one that's next to it, this edge. And pull this guy in a little bit. And that is pretty darn close to what we're looking for. Yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to... actually, it looks like we need to sharpen this guy up. So before we shape out the inside of this, we definitely want to get this shape to be correct. So I'm going to add another loop cut right in here. And I'm just going to pull this guy up to get kind of that sharper look. And I'll add one more right in here just to sharpen this end up just a little bit more. We'll shape this guy out. Let's see. Hide this guy. Try to get a better look at what's underneath. Okay. So yeah, we could pull this middle one. We could pull this guy up a little bit to probably about right there. If you really wanted to sharpen that end up a little bit, you could add another loop cut in there, like that. And that's pretty close. I'm going to pull both of these ends up just a little bit to probably about right there. And now we'll look up here at the top. That looks decent. But we could get this a little bit closer. So pull this guy down just a hair. And cool. So now what we could do is we could try to bring this all in a little bit, because right now it's still pretty thick at this angle. So I'm going to select all of this and I'm going to press O to go into proportional editing. So if you click O, you'll go into that. And if you press S on your keyboard and scale, you'll get this guy. If you scroll up and down, you'll get this guy. And I'm just going to shape this guy to kind of fit around this area. And I'm going to Control Z to undo anything we might have done right there. And I'm just going to kind of pull all of this stuff in, just to kind of make it not so thick. And it looks like we could probably pull some of this in a little bit. Just a little bit. Smooth that out a little bit. And now what we want to do is we kind of want to shape out where our sword is, because right now it should be going inside of our piece here. So how we're going to do that is, instead of adding loops, because we already have quite a bit of loops down here, I'm going to use the loops that we already have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of these edges right here. I'm going to pull these closer. Oh, go out of proportional editing. I'm going to pull these guys closer in to where our blade is. Like that. And if you are having trouble seeing vertices, you can go into X-ray mode, or you can go into subdivision, this on cage guy right here, to get a better look at it. And I'm gonna pull both of these in a bit as well. I'm gonna pull this guy in a bit further as well to about there. Maybe this guy in the middle out a little bit, just to get a little bit. Oh, it looks like we might have gone over, actually. Let's pull this guy back out this way. So that's the thing, if you use this on cage thing, it can look good here, but you might actually be causing some mistakes on this side, so be careful with editing with that on, because you can get some pretty bad mistakes if you're not paying attention to it. So I'm just going to kind of shape these guys out. And now I'm going to choose all of these inside faces that we just shaped. I'm going to go out of X-ray mode. And I'm just going to try to get all of these faces, if I can, in X-ray mode. X-ray mode makes it a little bit of a pain in the ass, but select that one. You can just go out of X-ray mode to select these areas. And now we got one more right here. So now with all of those selected, right in where our blade is, I'm going to press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude up. And it'll kind of extrude a little bit funky, but that's not going to be a big deal because we're not really going to see what's going on inside of here. I'm just going to kind of extrude this stuff up. And now we're actually going to go ahead and delete these faces. We don't need those faces. And now I'm just going to kind of go into a vertice mode here, and I'm just going to kind of move some of this stuff back. Just kind of shape this back out so it's not all angled like this. Try to get some more straight lines. And these guys right here merged. So it's not a huge deal, but that does break. Okay, actually it doesn't break our quads, so that actually is fine the way it is. So in that case, yeah, we'll just move. We'll just move this guy right here up. So we'll just move all these pieces up. Try to angle them or line them up right here. And that should be pretty good. So let's just see how it looks outside of X-ray mode here. And yeah, so we're going to want to shape this a little bit more. So we'll go into edit mode, and I'm going to pull this middle these middle vertices, all this middle piece. I'm going to pull this guy in quite a bit. Then these guys right here. I'll pull these guys in quite a bit. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to pull our blade up quite a bit. If you already had these selected, they'll still be selected if you didn't unselect them, but select all these top edges. I'm just going to pull this guy up a little bit more, so it gets in there a little bit more. And we have some empty space here, but honestly it's not a big deal. This is a part of the sword you'll never see, but if you're really picky on it, you could add some loops in there and try to fill it in, but I don't think it's worth doing, so I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna grab these two ends right here, and I'm just gonna kind of shape these guys into place. And now we got the general shape around where our blade is, and it goes into our piece here. And I think that's pretty good. I think I'm going to pull this guy out because it's sharpening our end a little too much. Yeah, I'm just going to pull that guy out a bit right there. If you alt select, it'll grab this whole loop, and you could just pull back or forward. And we'll go back and we'll look at our reference here. If I select this guy, I'm in edit mode, and I think that is pretty much good. We can move on to the next part. So I'm going to go ahead and do a save here. And the rest of this should be pretty easy, other than this piece up here. This piece is going to be a little bit different from our other sword that we did. So if you come and... I actually don't have the sword. I guess I deleted it. But it's going to be different. But yeah. But these pieces right here will still be super easy. So what we're going to do for those pieces, we're going to go up here to the add. We're going to add a cylinder. I'm just going to scale this guy down. Go into X-ray mode, scale it down to about what we need for here. So about right there. Then I'm going to press Control A and apply all transforms there. And now I'm going to right click on this guy, shade smooth, go into edit mode, choose face mode. I'm going to choose this top face, go back into X-ray mode, and just kind of put this guy into place. Go back out of X-ray mode, choose this bottom face, and I'm going to pull this guy up to about the top piece right there. And we can press A to select everything and go into edge, our snap mode. Make sure you have edge selected, and we can just kind of pull this guy until it snaps into place there. And we can make some of that go inside, but I'm actually going to make it sit on top. There'll be a little bit of some empty space here, but that should be fine. Not a big deal. And if you really wanted to be picky, you could pull all these edges down till you don't get that. Symmetrize on the X and Y. Turn snapping off. You could pull all of this stuff down if you wanted to. But I don't think it's worth doing. So I'm just gonna leave that guy like that. So now if you'll see, this guy looks weird, and that's because we set shade smooth on and it's got these really hard edges right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our modifiers, and we're going to add a bevel modifier. And then right here on segments, we're going to put 3 in there. And I'm going to set the amount to be 0.01. Actually, let's do 0.001. And yeah, that'll kind of fix some of that weird kind of shading we had going on there. And then also with the bevel modifier, I generally try to use go down here to normals. I generally try to use a weighted normal. And that'll kind of fix a little bit more of the shading issues you might get. And that is pretty much good for that shape. We can just kind of look at it, and I think that's decent enough. So now I'm just going to select this guy. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it and click. And then I'm going to go in edit mode, A, and then pull everything up. I'm just going to scale it down a little bit, turn snapping back on, and pull this guy down to about right there. We'll try to shape this guy. I think that's pretty good, actually. So we'll just go into face select this top face, and pull this guy all the way up to about right there. I'm going to scale this guy in, so press S and just move your mouse over. Scale this guy in. And that's pretty much good to go for that piece. And now we're just left with this last piece right here. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to add a cube. So go up here to add, cube, scale this guy way, way down. I'm going to move this guy into place. I'm going to turn snapping, whoops. I'm going to turn snapping off right here. Move this guy kind of into place, and I'm going to press Control A to apply all transforms, and I'm going to go over here to modifiers. I'm going to generate a subdivision surface. I'm going to shade smooth, and now we're going to go into edit mode and X-ray mode, and we're just going to kind of shape this into what we need. So to get this kind of a shape, we basically just need to add some loop cuts and scale them into place to get what we're looking for. So I'm going to, on this leveled viewport, I'm going to bump this up one right here. I'm going to add a loop cut in the middle with Control R, pull this guy down to about right here, and I'm going to leave those selected, and I'm going to select all of these bottom edges And I'm just going to scale all of this into about where we need, about right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a loop in the direct center, like that, because we need one to get this sharp edge in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and pull this middle piece up a little bit, and then I'll pull these side ones. Make sure you are symmetrizing on the X here. I'm just going to pull this guy in a bit to get a little bit closer. And now we need a loop in the middle. Actually, before we do, just Control Z before you do any of that. And we're going to go ahead and add a loop in the middle here. And now we'll pull these center pieces in. That way we get a straight loop right here rather than that curved one. Now I'm going to select this top one here and pull this guy in a little bit. And now we'll add another loop right in here. And I'm going to grab the side guy. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it in. Same with this guy right here. Just pull these guys in. And actually go out of X-ray mode and see what's going on here. Okay, so this loop right here, we're going to pull this guy way up, pull it in. We'll bring our picture back with Alt-H. And yeah, we're just going to shape these guys out. Go into X-ray mode. Pull this guy in. Looks like our top piece is going a little high, so I'm going to pull this guy down to about right there. And we'll pull these side edges here. Pull these guys down a bit and out. And we'll add another loop right in there to sharpen up a little bit. Go to X-ray mode to see what we're getting here. And you'll see we're kind of getting... So if you look at the reference, this guy is more rounded than what we have. So we're going to go ahead and try to round this guy out a bit. So I'm just going to hide that image, and I'm just going to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to go into vertice mode, and we're going to symmetrize on the X and on the Y here. So I'm just going to kind of pull some of these pieces in just to kind of round some things off here a bit. I'm going to select all of these right here and pull them in. And we pull this guy in right here. And we'll pull this bottom edge in as well. Just pull all of this stuff in to round it off. And that is looking a lot more round, but we are not symmetrized right now. We have more going on over here than we do over here. That's because of some of the loops we added over here, but we never added over here. So we're going to press A to select everything. We're going to go into Mesh. We're going to symmetrize, and we're going to symmetrize. Let's look at... We're going to do X to negative X. And now both sides will be exactly the same. And that's looking a lot closer to what we're looking for with that guy, but it's still not quite right. So I'm going to pull this guy in a little bit right there. Go into X-ray mode and look at what we got here. So we're going to add a loop right here. And I'm going to pull both of these outside vertices. I'm going to pull these guys in. And same for these, all four of these outside vertices. I'm going to pull these guys in to about right there. And we'll take a look at that outside of X-ray mode. That's pretty good, but we're not really getting that sharp midpoint look that we have in our reference. So we're going to work on that now. So I'm going to add one more loop right in here, and I'm just going to pull this guy way over. And you'll see that already sharpens up the edge a lot, but we added that loop here, but it's not on the other side. So we're going to press A to select everything, go into Mesh and symmetrize, and that should have kept what we set it as before, so you shouldn't have to change it. And yeah, now we're getting a lot more of that sharp midpoint look. And you could tweak, you know, you could just tweak some things around if you want to get it a little bit better, but I think this is pretty decent for where we are. We might pull some of this stuff down, maybe pull this guy down. We'll pull this guy down a bit as well, and we'll take a look at that. And yeah, that really makes that top part really pointy now. So we'll just take a look at this. Now, I may pull some of these two side edges, these two side vertices. I'll go ahead and pull these down and out a little bit, just smooth it a little bit. But for me, I think this is pretty good, other than some of this could be rounded, because right now this piece is completely flat. So I'm gonna grab both of these edges, or all three of these edges right here. I'm gonna pull these in a little bit, kind of round off some of that a little bit, and then these guys right here in the middle, everything from here down to the bottom, I'm gonna pull this out a little bit. And looks like this guy could probably just come over a little bit. If you select this middle circle area, you could just kind of click and drag this wherever you want, which is what I did right there. You could just drag this guy into place. And that's generally how I do things like this. I just kind of like, you can look at the line and just kind of see the curve in it and just kind of smooth some of that stuff out, you know? You just grab those pieces and pull them into place to smooth them. So like this guy right here, you can pull that guy out. You can see right here, we're getting a little bit of an indentation right here. And you can see that's because it goes in and then out here. I'm just going to smooth this guy right in here a little bit. And we need to shape our outside shape here. So I'm going to add a loop directly in the middle here. And everything... Yeah, so what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to hide our handle here. And I'm going to go into edit mode. And I'm going to select all of these faces on the inside. Like that. And I'm going to press I to inset it. And you'll see we get all these faces on the inside, and I'm going to press E and extrude up like that. You'll see we get this whole inside area, and I'm going to go ahead and delete those faces because we don't need them. And we'll Alt-H to unhide here. And now we just need to kind of we'll shape this guy out to fit our handle. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to choose all these vertices right in this area. Go to X-ray mode, and I'm just going to kind of shape this guy into place a little bit here. We'll grab these ones as well right in here. Go to X-ray mode. I'm just going to kind of shape these to fit the handle here. And I'll grab these ones right in here. And I'm going to make sure I got the right ones here. I'll grab that guy. Cool. So we'll pull this guy into place, back down this way. And same with the center pieces. I'll grab all of these right in there. Go out of X-ray mode. Just kind of pull these guys, just shape around our handle. And you can see right in here, we could probably tweak this a little bit. So if we pull this guy over, you can also just click this and grab G and move your mouse to pull it into place, which is what I'm doing here. Just clicking G, moving it over. And I'm gonna pull this vertex over a little bit right in here. Actually, we should grab both of those middle ones right in here. I'm just gonna grab these over this way. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and select these outside ones and just kind of pull it into place. And then we'll grab all of these right in here. And just kind of shape that stuff into place. And then this outside one definitely needs to be fixed, so we'll grab all of these right in there. And we'll pull these out like that. And that's pretty much all you're going to do. You're just going to kind of pull and shape things around the handle here, and then based on what you did here, you might want to tweak some more of the outside area. Like right in here, we're getting a weird indentation, so we could grab this middle guy, maybe pull this guy out a little bit, pull these side ones over a little bit, and this whole middle piece is kind of coming in, so I'm gonna grab all of these. Just gonna pull that guy out to round it off. And otherwise, I think that is pretty good. Take a look at what's going on here. So these two guys are coming out just as far as this middle guy, so we'll pull this guy in to round that piece off. We can pull this guy in a little bit as well. So just round off that side. And that's pretty good. You can tweak that as much as you want, but I think this is pretty good for my needs. So I'm just gonna save this guy. And something that got cut out in the last video is, so generally something I do before I apply modifiers is I select the whole model and I duplicate it to have a backup just in case anything goes wrong. And yeah, now we're just gonna go through and we're gonna apply our modifiers. So this one, on your blade, if it's not already applied, go ahead and apply it. We'll go to this guy right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply that mirror. And something I like to do before applying a subdivision is just kind of dropping that down to see if it still looks fine. And on this guy, it does look fine, but I'm gonna leave that. I will drop it. Yeah, we'll drop it. Should be fine. And then we'll actually add a weighted normal to this guy. Then we'll go ahead and apply that subdivision and the weighted normal. And then on this guy right here, I'm going to go ahead and apply that bevel and apply the weighted normal. And then on this guy right here, we'll go ahead and apply these. And then we'll go ahead and check our subdivision here, see how it looks dropping it. And I think that looks fine dropping it. So something you could do on this guy, if you wanted to add a loop cut in here, kind of reinforce this wrap around the handle. So I will do that, but I'll drop this subdivision, and then we'll apply we'll apply that guy. And now all we need to do is unwrap. So in the last video I unwrapped the blade, but audio cut out, so all I did here was I alt clicked the center loop, right click, and go into edge mode and right click, and you'll mark seam. So just mark seam on that center piece. And now we're going to do the same thing with this guy. So go into edit mode. I'm just going to choose the center piece, and I'm going to mark seam. And then I'll go ahead and hide both of those pieces because we got them done. And on this guy right here, I'm going to alt select the center, and then alt select the top and mark seam. And I'm just going to come over here to the side and select all of that edge right there and mark the seam. like that. And then I'll hide that guy, and we'll do the same thing right here. I'm going to alt select the center piece, and let me actually go ahead and hide that piece as well. So we'll alt select the center piece right here, and then we'll alt select up here, mark seam. And now we're just going to get this side edge from that seam all the way up here to this seam, and mark that guy. And then we'll alt H to unhide everything and just hide this handle here and hide that background. Now we're gonna do the this piece right here. So I think that one's fine. Well, actually, let's select this guy right in here. I'm gonna mark seam, and then I'll select this piece right here to mark the seam, and then I'm just gonna select the center piece right in there, and I will mark seam there. Now we're gonna go into object mode, alt H to unhide everything. I'm just gonna hide that background, and I'm gonna select everything here. So just shift select, click on all your pieces here. Then we're gonna go into edit mode and then press A. Then we're gonna pull out another window here and pull out our UV editor here so we can see what we get here. We're gonna go to UVs, we're gonna unwrap angle based, and you'll see this is how all the UVs came out, and I think that's fine. So what we're gonna do here, go back into object mode, leave everything selected, and I'm just gonna save this guy, and then we're gonna go to export, FBX, and something I went over in the last video that got cut out was I have this UE preset, so you could make a UE preset as well, which what I have on mine is just limit to selected objects and object type to be the mesh, forward, Y forward, and the up is Z up, and then geometry. I have smoothing set to face, then armature, I have add leaf bones off, and then animation, I have that unticked. And yeah, I'm gonna export longsword 2 here, export that guy, and now if you don't have Substance open, we're gonna open Substance, and we're gonna texture this bad boy from scratch. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna make a new, I'm gonna set this guy to be 4K, and I'm gonna find our longsword 2 here, pull this guy in, click OK, and sure, I'll save that. And now I'll delete this layer right here. We're gonna go into texture set settings, we're gonna go to bake mesh maps, we're gonna untick ID. You generally don't need that guy, you can leave it ticked if you want, but we're gonna set the output size to 4K, and we are gonna use low poly mesh as high poly mesh because we don't have a high poly mesh for this. And we're just gonna bake selected textures. And once that's baked, we will just check for baking errors to make sure everything is fine. Generally, if you get a baking error, it'll look like some weird, like dark lines or something. You usually get it with like UV issues or like mesh overlap issues and stuff like that. But as far as I could tell, this looks pretty good for me. So I'm gonna go over here to the layers, and for the blade, I'm just gonna use steel. So the steel, I think it was steel scratched that I was using. So I'll pull this guy on, and on this guy, I'm just gonna right click on it, this layer that I added. I'm gonna add a black mask. I'm gonna go over here to the polygon fill. I'm gonna choose mesh fill right here. I'm just gonna choose our blade right there, and we'll just use Blender for our reference right now. So if we go in here and Alt H and duplicate our background here to kind of get a look at what we have here. So the blade is pretty much good to go. And for all of this, I'm gonna do a little bit of some different things here. So for most of this metal, I'm gonna make this bronze. So we'll look for bronze here, and I'm just gonna pull this guy onto it, and I'm gonna right click on this bronze layer. I'm gonna add a black mask, and we'll go into polygon fill, and we'll just choose, I'm gonna choose all of this right in here. And if you look on your reference, it is using like a wrap kind of thing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna show you some different things that we could do with alphas to kind of make this look pretty cool. So if you look in the resources that I added in the description, the first resource that we're going to add here is going to be an alpha here. So I got a bunch of alphas here that I added into the description. And so something to know about these alphas is these are probably not the most ideal alphas because I just got ChatGPT to generate these alphas, but I would recommend either just going out and making some custom alphas or to go out and buy some alphas, because GPT alphas can be a little wonky. They're not perfect, but I'm just going to use these for now, just kind of get the general concept of how to use these down. So I'm going to pull in, you'll see one that looks like this guy right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that guy in. I'm just going to click and drag it in. I'm going to click mask right here like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go here to the go down to the 3D projection settings right here, and then on the offset X I'm going to set that to be 0, and then on the Z scale I'm going to set that guy to be like 1, so that way it goes all the way through and you get it on both sides. And then I'm going to set the Y scale, we'll just test some things. Let's try 0.07. Let's try 0.06. Something about right. Yeah, 0.06 looks pretty good. And actually, we're getting a little bit of overlap right there. So let's put 0.05. And we're still getting a little bit of overlap right in there. So you can just kind of find I think it's the Y offset. So there's the 0.55 maybe, or 0.54. We'll just try around until we get it right. 0.56, 0.57, 0.57 seems to be decent, but I'm going to put that to 0.575, which might need to come down just a hair. 0.574, 0.573, 0.572, and we're still getting a little bit of that right there. So let's try increasing our Z scale to 2, see if that changes anything. It doesn't. So we'll change our Y scale to 0.045. And yeah, that seems to clean it up pretty good. So now what we're going to do for this guy is we're going to go into the actual the color right here. And I'm going to choose height. And I'm going to pull the height in. And you'll see that that adds that guy in right there. And we can tweak those projections a little bit more if we want to clean it up a little bit. So I'm just going to pull our Y 0.046 just a little bit. And you'll see from a distance it looks pretty decent. But if you get close, you can kind of start to see some of the pixels in it. So, for a scenario like this, I would probably honestly try to make a custom alpha if you're good at anything like that. I'm bad at drawing, so I don't do that. But I would probably try to make a custom alpha to fit the exact shape. But for these purposes, I think this is fine for now. So I'm gonna go back here to the color, and I'm gonna choose a color. I'm gonna click the eyedropper. I'm gonna choose a color pretty close to our bronze. Just gonna pull this guy up a little bit, and you can turn off color on and off to kind of see what it looks like with and without it. I'm gonna pull this guy down a bit, make it a little bit darker, and I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that should work for now. So we're gonna basically do the same thing, but with a different alpha now. I'm gonna grab this guy right here, So I'm just gonna pull this guy in. We're gonna pull that in as a mask. And then up here, we're gonna choose to symmetrize this guy. So that way it goes to the other side. And now, same thing, we're gonna go down to our, where is it? 3D projection settings. And set the Z scale. I'll go ahead and set that guy to like 2. Make sure it goes all the way through. And then we're gonna set our X to say maybe 0.05. Our Y to maybe 0.05 as well, just to kind of get it closer to fit. And I'm gonna change the rotation. I think it's gonna be Z rotation. Nope. Oh, that's offset. Try Z rotation to kind of rotate this guy around. And so part of the reason I think we are getting a little bit of some pixelation here is I think it's going to be the texel density. So sometimes you may need to go tweak some things. So if we go and hide our background, or hide our background here, we highlight all of our pieces here. We go to edit mode and we pull out that other side window. And we look at our UV editor. So if we look at this guy, our middle piece right here, we're just gonna make sure we apply transforms on everything real quick. It might get us a better UV unwrap. So just apply transforms on everything. I'm gonna go to edit mode and select everything and unwrap angle based again. So it looks like that didn't pack it anymore, but honestly, this texel density should be pretty dense, but just in case that does change anything, I'm going to go ahead and re-import the mesh. And anytime you do a re-import, it's a good idea to re-bake, just in case there's any changes. So we'll re-bake that guy. We'll go back to return to painting mode. And we'll look at this guy here. So, I'm going to change. I'm just going to kind of play with the scalings here. X 0.07. Yeah, we'll pull that guy up a bit. I'm just going to kind of pull it into place here. Maybe right in there. And I'm just going to go back to the color here. I'm going to add a height. And I'm going to copy the same color that we used on our other layer. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to go into right here and I'll get Control C that. I'm going to go back to our layer that we're working on now and just paste that color in. And we'll look at what we had on height. I'll copy that height as well and come back and we'll paste that height in. And yeah, it's not too bad. So make sure that's going on both sides. Looks pretty good. And if you wanted to try and smooth that guy out a little bit, you could go in here, right click, go into filter and add a, could try to add a blur. Just bring the intensity way down. Something like a 0.01. Just play with some really small values here. 0.02, 0.05. Yeah, we'll do something right around there. So now that piece should be pretty good. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a tiling alpha. So we'll go here. We'll add a new fill layer. And so we're gonna pull in this guy right here. We're going to import this as a resource. So I'm going to go up here to File. I'm going to import resources, and I'm going to go to Add Resource. And I'm just going to go find that alpha, which is going to be this guy right here. Open this guy. Undefined, we're going to change this to be alpha. And you can choose to import this into your current session or into your library or into your project. I'm going to just import this to current session. So I'm going to import that guy. And I'm actually going to go ahead and save our project here to be long sword 2. I'm just going to overwrite what I had before. So I'm going to go ahead and save this guy. And we have this texture imported, and now we want to use it. So on our new layer that we added, our fill layer, we're going to right click on this guy, add a black mask. Then we're going to add a fill layer. Then we're going to pull this guy onto our grayscale right here. Then we're going to go up. We're going to set this guy to be triplanar. And we're going to tile this up. So you can see we'll get something right in there. And then we're going to go back to our color here. We're going to copy our color from our other layer as well. So just come back here, copy this color, and then we'll paste that color in. And now we'll go into the height right here, and we may actually increase this height a little bit. So that way it pops out rather than going in. Something like that. But you'll notice here, this is going on top of what we had before, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to right click on our layer here, and I'm going to group layers, and now we can add another black mask to this. You go into our polyfill and then choose our mesh fill, and we will just choose this mesh right here, and we'll choose this mesh right here. And now we can go back into paint mode, and you'll see we don't get it on this piece down here, and it just stays on these two pieces. And that looks pretty good to me. So one last thing we're going to do is we're going to add one more alpha that we're going to add to the blade to add some cool patterns to our blade. And that alpha is going to be this guy right here. And this one is the one that causes the biggest issue because this one generated with GPT, and this one doesn't perfectly align. The top and bottom section doesn't perfectly align. So we're going to do some things to kind of smooth that out. We're going to do the same thing we did before though. We're going to import. We're going to go up here to file, import resources, add resource, and I'm just going to go find my alpha here. I'm going to import this guy. I'm going to set this guy to be an alpha, and I'm just going to import. And now I'm just going to copy this layer we have inside of this folder, and I'm just going to click off of that and then paste that guy in, and you'll see that adds everywhere. But what we're going to do here, we're going to go to this black mask, go to the fill, and we're going to replace the grayscale here with what we just brought in. So pull that guy in, and we'll probably change the tiling here till it fits something. Let's say about 8, or let's try 6.5. Yeah, 6.5 looks pretty good. You could make that 6 as well. Just play with the tiling until you like it. And I think that is pretty good. But you'll see, like I was saying here, this one does have some issues where it doesn't perfectly align right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this fill on the black mask, and we're going to right click. We're going to add a filter. Then we're going to add a blur. We're just going to bring this intensity down a little bit, and that'll smooth. We'll set this guy to say maybe 0.1. And that'll smooth it out a little bit. It'll obviously make your whole texture a little bit blurry, but it shouldn't really be a big deal. And also on this guy, the layer we copied from, we brought the height out. On this guy, I'm actually going to bring the height in a little bit, so that way it goes in to the sword rather than pumping out. We'll pull that in a little bit further, make it pop a little bit more. Yeah, and now with that blur, that does smooth that out a little bit. It's not perfect. Like I said, I would recommend either making some alphas or buying some alphas, but, you know, you get what you get when you try to work with friggin' AI. But, yeah, and now right here, you could just, so same issue as before. We're getting this alpha on everything. So we're going to right-click on this guy. We're going to group layers. We're going to add a black mask to this guy. Then we'll go over here to our polyfill, mesh fill, and just choose our blade. So that way it doesn't go onto any of our other pieces. We only have it on our blade right here. And if you wanted to, you could play with the colors of this. Change it to whatever color you find cool. But for me, I'm gonna leave it to be that color. That way it kind of matches, stays in the same kind of color palette as our bronze. And yeah, so I think that's pretty good for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this guy. And I'm gonna go up here to the default material right here. I'm gonna change this to be T_longsword 2, like that. And now I'm gonna go up here to File, Export Textures, and this part's gonna be pretty important if you're following the RPG series. So in our output templates, I have I use a custom output template because if you remember in our master material, I have some custom packed maps that I use, which is an ARH and an MSE. So what you're gonna want to do for this is you're gonna want to add a you're gonna want to make a custom output, and then you can choose this top one to be RGB plus A, and this is just going to be your base color, and then the alpha will be opacity, and then you'll add another one, and this one is going to be just an R plus G plus B, and this is going to be ambient occlusion, roughness, and height, and then you'll add another one here, and this one is going to be metallic, specular, and emissive, and then another one down here which is going to be an RGB combined right here, and this one is going to be normal direct X. So just create this output if you're following the RPG series, but if not, you could use whatever you want. And I'm going to choose the custom packed right here, and I'm going to choose where I want to export this to. So I'm going to go to my E, textures, RPG, new folder. I'm going to call this, actually, this should be an RPG Tut. I'm going to make a new folder in here. I'm going to call this Longsword 2. I'm going to select that guy. I'm going to export. And now that should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and close Blender down here. And I'm going to open our RPG project. And close this alpha down right here. So now if we go into library, we go into our RPG project. So now once we get the project open, we're going to go to our third person folder. And if you don't have a models folder, go ahead and make you a models folder. I made one in the last video, but yeah, go ahead and make a models folder in here. And I also made a weapons folder in here. And I made a longsword folder for our first longsword. And I'm going to right click. I'm going to make a Longsword 2 right in here. And from here, I'm just going to pull in our longsword that we just made. So RPG Longsword 2, pull this guy in. And I'm just going to import as is. And if we pull this guy in, you'll see we get our new longsword. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull in the textures that we made. So go find our textures, RPG Tut, Longsword 2. I'm going to select all of these guys and pull these in. And we'll go ahead and save all of that. And I'm going to go into each of these textures and change some settings here. So the ARH here, I'm going to go open this guy. And I'm going to set this guy to be 1024. And compression settings to be masked. Save that guy and close it. I'm going to go into the base color here. And I'm just going to drop this guy to be 2K rather than 4K. You can leave it 4K if you want, but I'm going to drop that to 2K. And then on the MSE here, compression setting, I'm going to change this to mask. Texture size to 1024. Save that guy. Close it. And then on the normal here, I'm just going to drop this guy to be 1024. Save that guy and close it. Do a save all. We'll go into our materials here, our M master. We're going to right click on this. We're going to create material instance. We're going to call this MI_longsword 2. I'm going to pull this guy into our longsword 2 folder. Move that guy there. And I'm going to select all of these longsword pieces. And I'm going to throw this material onto that. Open this guy up. And we'll select all of our textures right here. And we'll pull each texture in. ARH and MSE. And you'll see we have our textures, but we need to turn on metallic. So come down here to metallic intensity. Set that guy to 1. And now we have our second sword. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up here to actor. I'm going to merge everything. We're going to go down here to merge actors. Merge actor settings. I'm going to replace source actors. Merge actors. Go find where our sword is. So models, weapons, longsword 2. I'm just going to click this guy and name this longsword 2. And now we have a merged longsword. And yeah, that's pretty much the flow for it. The only other models we're gonna make before we dive back into inventory is we're gonna make a health potion and we're gonna make a shield, and I think that'll be good enough for us to fully work through our inventory system. But yeah, we're gonna call it here for this one. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you're new around here, definitely subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know those down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.